celebrity boat, this one, for us, Grace. When you're from this part of the world.
Yeah, even internationally, still a celebrity boat. Yeah.
Go. Get ready, please.
The wind's picking up at the finish line, up at Temple Island at the start line. That GB Women's 4's moving around a bit there, trying to get things calmed down.
Yeah, we can even feel it here. The gusts are really picking up, which makes the start very difficult because you might be in line at 1 second and then you get a gust and you're off the next.
It's midday on semi-finals day, Henley Royal Regatta, the Town Challenge Cup semi-final.
Attention! Go!
Concentration etched across their faces. Just watching the steering. Bit of a meander from the GB4. This is the London Leander boat. Punching out a pretty healthy rhythm and healthy stroke rate early on. They've got to try and upset things here, haven't they? Just don't want to allow Leander and Imperial to row the race they want. They can probably, their best opportunity is at the start to do something to set the cat amongst the pigeons here.
Yeah, when you're up against a 4 of this calibre, that's how you have to approach it. If you sort of let them get too much of a lead, you're going to struggle to come back because you're racing a world-class 4. And as we sort of talked about throughout the morning, that is why Henley is so cool. They're getting to line up against a women's 4 who's going to go on and compete at World Champs this year. So it's pretty special. But yeah, I'm sure the intention was to jump out with the more experienced 4, but you can kind of see the skill and prestige of the GB women. That they're pretty hard to compete with.
Definitely, and it's going to be a good experience for London and Leander, who are all in their very early 20s. They've all had previous Henley Royal Regatta experience. There you can see Abigail Top in the stroke seat, Lauren Carey, Rad Broughton, and Phoebe Snowden, who's had 3 previous regattas in the bow seat there. Struggling to keep pace with Leander and Imperial, but what an experience. They would have grown up watching Helen Glover, for instance, and I just picked Helen Glover because she's clearly the standout athlete in that Leander and Imperial boat, behind Rebecca Shorten in the stroke seat, but they'll have grown up watching Helen Glover winning Olympic medals, double gold medal Olympian.
Yeah, I think if you get a chance to race against someone that you've looked up to forever, regardless of the result of this race, it will go down and their rowing memories as a very special experience and doesn't happen very often, so I'm sure they'll be treasuring it regardless.
Well, it's an interesting dynamic for the opposition. It's also an interesting dynamic for those in the same boat as her, isn't it? Because Rebecca Shorten, who's pretty experienced in her own right, 5 previous Henley Royal Regattas and loads of international experience now, Rebecca Shorten, but Heidi Long a bit younger and Rern McKellar as well. For them, it must be, well, I think I'd be a bit starstruck if I was in the same boat as them.
Yeah, to be honest, I would as well. So
you've got a similar CV. You're all right.
Yeah, no, I still feel starstruck. So, but I'm sure it's one of those situations where people that come through at slightly different times of their rowing career, you can learn off everyone. So even if you're slightly less experienced, obviously Helen's incredibly has a lot of incredible accolades, but I'm sort of sure she can pick up stuff off.
Yeah, she's very down to earth, and actually in her approach she's been at pains to say exactly that. She's still learning every day, and I suppose if you weren't learning, it would be hard to sustain it, wouldn't it? Hard to keep turning up to work each day.
Yeah, and I think the 4 is a relatively new boat for her to venture into, obviously predominantly in pairs. So, whereas the other woman in this 4 probably has spent maybe a bit more time in it. So the dynamic of that and sort of forming together with 3 other people as opposed to 1 is quite different. So I'm sure it'll be quite a fun little experience to change it up and to enter into a new boat class.
Yeah, you really picked up the mantle, didn't you, from the Stanning and Glover era in your pair.
Yeah, we weren't around for as we didn't do the double, but yeah, we very fortunate to sort of get to race them a few times at the last few years as we were sort of under 23s and just entering the pair field. But they really set the scene for women's pairs rowing, so we had some pretty tough shoes to fill and did it for a while, but don't know if we can compete long term.
Gowler and Prendergast. It was always popping up on the match fixture. Right, this is the boat that's predictably taken a lead here. Leander and Imperial. Glover and Shorten there. And what have we got at the front of the boat? I think Rebecca Shorten's got a bit of race time reading to do there.
Yeah, I think the Henley footage is amazing that you do get the insight. You can see into the boat. You watch so many other regattas and you don't see what's going in there, so it's quite cool for everyone watching to see all the gadgets they have, and I guess rowing's getting more and more technical.
So what typically would be on the little monitor there?
The stroke seat normally has a little speed coach, and you'll be getting stroke rate, so how many strokes you're taking per minute, speed, distance, which is also probably quite important at Henley because it's not a standard 2K distance. You might not know intrinsically where you are just off the bat, but yeah, the most important information for the stroke will be the rate.
In-flight entertainment.
In-flight entertainment, yeah, well, you either love it or you hate it. I personally hated having any sort of data or information in front of me. I was like, I don't want that. I don't want to know how fast I'll fly.
Yeah. Race it as you see it.
Yeah, race it, and if I'm confident that it feels good, I didn't want something else telling me whether I should or not.
And you can see Leander have got the same technical information. They've got a little purple screen there at the front of the boat. And on the stroke seat, Abigail Top having to interpret the data if she wishes. Grace would not wish.
No, yeah, and leave that to my stroke seat, Kerry. That was her job.
Just watching the London and Leander boat, they're a bit behind, so the umpire won't be bothered by this, but they were veering out towards the middle. That's just going to make their work harder because they'll be in the wake of the Leander and Imperial boat.
Yeah, and as you say, definitely fortunate enough to be in front enough, but yeah, definitely hanging out in the middle, which shows how difficult it is. These crews are finding it to stay on their side with those gusts. And personally, I found 4's quite a difficult boat to steer. They're quite sensitive, but also going quite fast. So you're sort of balancing one of the faster boats without a coxswain.
So we're watching Leander and Imperial put in a very solid performance, nothing untoward as yet. They'll be heading through to finals tomorrow, which will have been absolutely their plan coming into this week, and you can see there they're just relaxing and they know they're in control. They can afford to drop the rate off. I wonder who makes that call in that boat. You'd think it would be Helen Glover with all of her experience, but Rebecca Shorten's the one with the data and the best view, and she's a good communicator, so perhaps it's the Irishwoman, I don't know.
I'm sure they would have sort of talked about this before the race if they were fortunate enough to get in front, how you go about that. And I know in our crews it would normally come from someone in either the bow seat or the 2 seat, actually, just because the rest of the crew can hear you. You're probably the cooler, but I'm sure everyone will be out there sort of watching this very fine performance of rowing come down.
They'll know each other well, but over the line in the next few strokes come Leander and Imperial, McKellar, Long, Glover and Shorten, who have got a busy couple of weeks, having won yesterday against Northeastern University, winning today against clubmates from Leander and University of London. Final tomorrow, and then off to the World Cup in Lucerne next week. So a really busy stage of the season.